Good evening. Welcome to the Wednesday, December 10th, 2025, 6 p.m. meeting of the Middle School Building Committee. This meeting will be a hybrid meeting, both in person and online. To start the meeting, I'd just like to point out on the agenda, there is an executive session that is scheduled for this meeting. We will go into executive session to conduct discussion of the deployment of or strategy regarding security personnel and or devices. When we do that, the committee will not return to open session. Let's start with a roll call on members, just to make sure we know who's out there. Internally, Lynn?
Here.
Armand's here. Marty?
Here.
Online, we have David? David?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Okay. Josh?
I'm here.
Okay. Clarissa?
Here.
Sorry.
Yep, here.
Nicole?
Here.
Cool. All right. This meeting is called to order. Do we have any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move to item 3. We do not have any approval of minutes tonight. They will be available at the next meeting. Correspondence, we do not have any correspondence officially for the record. Let's go to OPM update, items A and B, schedule update, and IRA tax consultant update.
Excellent. I'll let Marty get a second to pull the presentation up. All right, so Marty's pulling that up. I can at least get into the overall kind of high-level schedule here. So we're currently in the detailed design phase of the project. We've been having a lot of meetings with the district, with DPW, with the town, with police and fire and DPW and everybody going through a lot of different items from logistics when construction starts to security to the faculty and staff and the flow of the school. We've been talking about, just how everything's going to work and really hammering away at those details that the design team needs to continue their work. So this phase will go through the end of July and even further, because starting the summer of 2026 is when we'll start some of those early package work, starting some early construction at that point. And again, we still have a planned fall of 2028 move-in date. On the right-hand side of that screen, you'll see kind of how those design phases break out. And so October through February is going to be the design development phase, and we'll be submitting to the MSBA on February 12th. That's for design development. And then 60% we're going to be submitting in May of 26. And then the last phase, the 90%, is kind of broken up in two different phases, kind of May through July of 26. That's really to kind of get through those early packages and get bids out for there and start working on some of that work. And then August through September, we'll be finishing up the 100% bid set for the project, and that comes in September, the end of September. So that's kind of our high-level detail schedule that we have, if there's any questions on schedule. But we're still on schedule, and things are moving ahead.
All right. Makes sense. Sounds good.
And one thing that we were talking about today, we don't have to make a decision, but something to think about probably for next month is just how we've done in the past. We've had pre-quals done for the OPMs, for the design team, and for the CM. We're going to start doing that for the trade contractors as well. And so we'll have to come up again with a subcommittee for that. And so you need at least 5 members, and you'll have 2 from the owner side, 1 from the OPM, 1 from the design team, 1 from Fontaine. And that's a minimum. You could certainly have more on the owner side if you would like. So just something to start to think about if anybody's interested in being on that committee. We're going to need that for the early packages, and then throughout kind of the whole bid process, there's going to be different phases that we're going to be going out to bid. So we'll have to do that process
How
throughout.
many trades have to be pre-qualified?
Do you know off the top of your head?
18 is the maximum that's in there, but there's usually 15.
No.
Ballpark 15.
Yeah. You know, we probably want to use the same committee just for redundancy, just to, the process and everything, just making sure we're kind of keeping everything the same process as we did the previous one.
Time commitment for those who are honored to join the pre-qualification screening team?
It's not heavy lifting, and we'll certainly, on the owner side, we'll, whatever people's availability is to help out with that. And then, on our side here, we can take the brunt of the, the trades. But again, having these broken up into different packages may help make that a little bit easier if we're doing it multiple times instead of doing everybody at once. But it takes a little bit of time to review the packages and do the scoring and then meet and kind of come up with the evaluation. So, a little bit of time. It's hard to put a number on it, but yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of homework after work probably to get some stuff done.
All right.
But something to think about if anybody's interested.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of
What have you been seeing for, like, vendor response or contractor responses? Like, are you seeing 3 for a trade or 10 or?
Depends on the trade, but I think we're getting more now than we have,
Okay.
Right.
say, 3 years ago.
For sure, especially on the qualification side.
Yeah.
But even once they get qualified, we're getting a lot of bids on a lot of packages. There's a lot of interest out there.
Right.
Good bid environment right now.
Good. Thanks.
Question, I guess.
Yeah.
The trades that are coming to you, typically you guys are probably reaching out in advance to people we know and trust along the way.
Yeah, so we'll do
Okay.
that ahead of time. So we want to actually get the word out there. So we'll,
Yeah.
we'll send a mass email out to everybody saying, hey, this project is, underway, and we're looking for, people who are interested. And, between all of us, we certainly have some firms that we want to make sure that we send them out to.
Okay.
All right, I think next is the IRA tax consultant. So I was working with Chad, and Chad's been super helpful on getting this RFP out. And so we have responses coming in on Friday, the 12th. And so if everyone remembers, the IRA tax consultant is going to be super helpful on this project. They're going to be there, since we are going geothermal, to make sure that this project gets the most reimbursement or the most rebates that we possibly can at the end of the project. So they're going to come in and assist us with spec writing, making sure that we have all the correct information. We're getting all the pay recs separated the way they should be in order to submit them to the state or for the grants. So again, those will come in on Friday, and then once I have those, then we'll be able to make a selection based on qualifications and cost, obviously.
Question,
Yep.
We may have discussed this, the tax consultant, are they paid on a flat fee basis, or is it a percentage of the savings that they generate for us? How does that work, or is it a mixture of the two?
I think it's a mixture of the two.
Okay.
So you're going to get your fee for actually the initial part that's going to be coming in and helping, all of us set up to make sure that the specs are, written correctly, that we're going to get all the right information. And they're going to base that off of basically what they're going to assume is going to be the amount that they could return, but after they have a chance to look through all the documents. But we're seeing this, that a tax consultant is definitely necessary. I know you've, Jason, worked with one, you have a few geothermal projects going on, and it's super helpful and needed to get the most rebates.
Yeah, just at Agawam, it was incredibly important to get the correct wording in the bid documents that we're going out to the bidders that it applied to, so that they're taking into account what they have to provide for backup throughout the whole process. So it's major, the first really major aspect they help with, let alone the whole process for helping the district get through the credits at the end.
So, yeah, Lynn, any questions or from the town side? No?
No?
Okay.
Sounds great.
All right. The only question I had, I mean, you're saying geothermal, but it's for anything where there might be a tax credit along the line, is that?
Yeah, anything that falls within that IRA
Does that fall within IRA? Could-
Yeah, that's
like,
typically what
would they
these, I
do
mean,
the
I'm sure they
mass
can help
save
us out with some
stuff
other
too, or-
stuff, but, I mean, that's a little bit different, so.
Okay.
This is more focused on, because this is where we're gonna get the most money, is for the IRA credits.
You may have said this reimbursable by the MSBA or no?
No,
No.
nope.
No.
We tried. They may change their mind down the road if this
Yeah.
continues to be a thing, but right now, it's not.
Do we have any idea what the bids look like on this, something like this?
Say between like probably 15 to 25,000, somewhere in between there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're looking at that, and you're looking at, a couple $1 million, hopefully.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
trying to look at what the, for lack of a better term, ROI would be on that.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely worth it.
Okay, cool. All right, anything else on this? Do you need a vote, or we're just waiting?
No,
until
just,
the-
that was just an update, and we'll get the responses on Friday.
Okay. All right, let me go back to the agenda. Great, I guess moving on the agenda then, unless anybody has any questions. Christian, design?
Great. So first, for those who haven't met Kaylee, let me introduce Kaylee Jackman here from our office, and then I think online we also have Cody Latin from our security consultant team from Good Harbor. But first, let me just talk a little bit about, just wanted to update the committee on meetings and that we've had since November 12th. Some not on this list, where we're meeting just with teachers. This was more of kind of larger meeting. So November 13th, we met with the environmental committee, focusing a little bit on the turf field on that one. The 14th, health, PE, and wellness, which helped us kind of do some slight modifications to that wing of the building. We'll see tonight. A really helpful meeting with the district staff with security. Turf has been an important topic and hot topic, so we met both on November 17th and then more recently on December 5th again. We'll go through some of those kind of major decisions tonight. Design advisory group, this was a number of teachers and staff we met with a few times before that November 12th meeting, and then once after on the 18th. Again, I really can't stress enough how important it was to get their input. It was really helpful. That focused more on the common areas, and we spent a long time with our landscape architect talking about the exterior, making sure that it worked for the staff. On the 19th, we had a really helpful meeting with the town and with Fontaine and our site team on site utilities and enabling work. And again, I'll go through that on a high level tonight. Some geotechnical test borings were performed on December 1st. We are going to be coming back with a backhoe to do some test pits, and that's still to be scheduled, but that's also part of that scope. On December 3rd, we had a good meeting with Fontaine and our site team and our mechanical team, focusing on site utilities and geothermal. And then, like I mentioned, that turf field meeting most recently.
So the test boring's done this time versus previous?
Correct.
What's the difference?
Just more information.
Okay.
So now that we have a bit better understanding of the envelope of the building, wanted to make sure that we get those specific locations. And then the test pits that are happening later is really focused on, well, it's going to be helpful. There's a lot of people that are going to have to be there at the same time. So we're going to get geotechnical information, which is helpful for our structural engineer. We're going to have folks there from Ty and Bond who are looking at how well the water can act as an infiltration for stormwater. And then we'll also have folks there from another subconsultant called Pine and Swallow, and they're looking at the kind of how good the soil can be used for the landscape, and how much it needs to be augmented, and how much soil needs to be imported to help with the landscape on the site.
Cool, thanks.
So just wanted to cover, kind of not go into super detail on all of those meetings, but we tried to identify where kind of major decisions were made or substantial changes from what you've seen before. So this one is on the turf update. Again, 2 meetings were extremely helpful. Right now, what the design team and both district and town input leaning towards what you have here on the screen, which is a turf field of 385 feet by 230 feet, striped for 5 different sports. And I'll pull those up here, which would be football in white, field hockey in black, soccer in yellow, women's lacrosse in red, and men's lacrosse in blue. And it sounds like a lot, but there's actually, most of the synthetic turf fields around this area have that same striping, from East Longmeadow to Agawam to Springfield. And it's nice that with the synthetic turf it can handle that. Saves the district a lot of time, looking at having to restripe before individual games. Some other major changes were there's an interest to have a small amount of bleachers, but have them within the fenced area. Our turf consultant was a little nervous about that because they didn't want people bringing in chewing gum or things like that could disturb the turf or damage it. And so we've kind of come up with a good, I think, in between of having a separation between the synthetic turf and where those bleachers would be located, but still having those bleachers within the fenced-in area that can help with containment, also can help with ticketing, so that, for events. A lot of discussion on netting, and...
Did they talk to you about the bleachers, and is there concrete? Are we okay?
We spent a lot of time talking about the
Okay,
surface,
just
that
making sure.
it would be secure
Don't make the
to.
mistakes I make.
So right now we have tall netting. At schematic design, we carried it in 6 different locations. That seemed a little bit overkill and really was going to have kind of a dramatic effect on the site. So right now we have it at just the far ends, kind of behind the field goals, and 1 section of netting that's 30 feet high, and then 2 smaller sections on each side that's a little bit at 20 feet high. We do have 1 scoreboard across from the bleachers, centered at the midpoint on the field, which works quite well. So just a lot of these details that were ironed out that was really helpful to get input from folks involved with the athletics, the maintenance side of things, as well as the district's input.
So the bleachers right now are on what type of surface?
I don't know, to be
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
honest,
Okay.
Marty.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're either on gravel or on concrete
Okay.
pad.
Okay.
And that's a sidewalk in front of them that runs?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right, separating the two.
Thought we stayed away from the gravel, worried about it getting kicked onto
Moving.
turf and not,
grass.
yeah.
Real grass?
So maybe either blacktop or concrete was being talked about for that strip along the field and the bleachers and the gate.
Whatever the manufacturer recommends.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to let that go.
I'm just trying to be in compliance from now on, Lynn. I like how the car flow goes by it, though, for picking kids up and dropping them off for practice as well.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, no, it works out quite well. And it feels like it's fitting a little bit better on the site than it was at schematic design too.
Cool. Any questions from anybody on the committee? All right.
Okay, the next graphic is from our site utilities and enabling work meeting that happened on November 19th. Again, a lot of folks were there, police, fire, DPW, and super helpful to get everyone's input. And what was probably the best was walking around the site after the meeting was over and just kind of getting our bearings. So the biggest change on this was we originally were going to maintain the community access on the west side of the site, from Woolsworth to Williams.
Yeah, the existing drive now.
Existing drive.
Yep.
And what quickly became apparent was that there's a lot of existing utilities that are going down that road and new utilities too, including the new geothermal field.
So just so nobody else is confused like I was, I thought
Yes.
this was talking about microclimates, and it's not. It's talking about temporary conditions update.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Like site
Temporary
conditions.
not temp. Got
I
it.
was
Like
I thought you,
temperature.
because like where the red is, it's
so
kind of like
sorry.
where the turf field would be, so I didn't know, and the other places where parking lot would be, so I was like, okay.
Heat island effect.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
I read the
Yeah.
town energy guide, yeah.
Temporary conditions.
Okay, sorry.
Because this is for the, basically the year that students will be in the existing
Yep.
school while construction is happening in the green, not temperature dependent side of the site. Yeah, and so what we quickly realized is that it made a lot of sense to try to install the new drive, and other confusing thing about this graphic is north is to our right. So on the bottom of the screen, on the east side of the site, to install that new driveway coming down. And at first the idea was to connect the two along the northern side of the existing school. And once we got back there and saw it in person, it was extremely tight. Police in particular was quite nervous about that idea. And so the compromise and kind of solution proposed was to have two isolated drop-off areas. One still accessed from Woolworth, that would be just like it is today, maybe slightly smaller because you can see our geothermal field overlaps for a little bit on the southern side of that. So still have that as a drop-off area, but also have a drop-off area that can be accessed from Williams, so that we're not overloading traffic on Woolworth. Not quite as flexible because they're not connected, but still providing plenty of options for the town and for both buses and car drop-off.
And I see the trailers are gone.
Right now, they're still there, actually.
Oh, are they?
That little arm on the screen, bottom of the screen, again, east side of the site. I think, so there's a lot of this diagram that's still to be changed. One is the whole green area that Fontaine, quote unquote, owns, right? There's a lot of development that needs to happen there, and Jason and his team are looking at that right now. On the school district side, I think maybe that area of pink on the east side of the site, again, the bottom of the screen, also, I think we need to talk to the district and figure out, because right now, we're not really showing any room for play area. And so one thought is that that long loop becomes much shorter, and maybe there's not as much parking that can be contained there, but there's going to be some give and take between the amount of outdoor play in that area and the amount of drop-off pickup parking. The modular classrooms that you referenced, it might be extremely helpful to get rid of those so that we have more room for both pickup drop-off and also for outdoor play. That might also be a nice door into the school from the new pickup drop-off area. So something in flux and to be considered.
We had some preliminary conversations with JWA about
Okay.
whether or not we, what our plan could be if we had to take those offline. I think we could figure it out if we had to.
Okay.
The lot on the west side, on the top of the picture here, the more rectangular lot, there would be a loop. Cars would come in.
I think very similar to what you have
Right. So
today.
that was my point. We're probably not going to lose a lot of parking compared to what we presently have there.
Correct.
I'd say.
Yeah. A few spots on that southern side of that existing loop that you have now.
Yeah.
But then we'll probably gain a few spots on the east side of the site.
Yeah, that loop will still work the same as it does today
Yeah.
for cars coming off of Woolworth.
I think there's actually some advantages to having it separated. And it was great to be on the site with police and fire and town officials and DPW, and because it was sort of like a collaborative aha moment. But
Yeah.
Chief Stocks in particular was favorable to this arrangement, I'd say.
I'm sorry I missed that site meeting. I know my assistant was there, but when you guys looked at this, was there any discussion about snow removal during this temporary time?
I don't think
We
so.
talked about it in general, about the new proposed site.
Right, but not with
but
a
not
temporary
Okay.
solution.
With this temporary solution.
So there's still
Yeah.
a lot we still have to figure out and come through, but this we thought was the best solution for getting cars in and giving Fontaine their space and making sure everybody's safe.
Yeah.
So logistically, we still have, some things to tweak out and figure out, but that's a good point. We'll definitely have to think about where we can load up snow and all those types of things.
Yeah, we probably need to talk about removing it from the site, I'm guessing. So it doesn't seem like we wouldn't want to have snow take space of cars when we're,
It's an option.
I don't know. Maybe we won't have snow.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, we put
Problem
in that
solved.
little piece of grass right at the end where it shut off the sidewalk, coming in from the backside. Not
Blackland?
Yeah, Blackland.
Yeah, there is grass space there, so yeah, in the wintertime, if they're not gonna be going outside and there's snow, they can certainly push it over there, I guess.
Make us letting out.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
All right.
Any other questions on that?
Christian, did they decide, is the light going in with this access
So
road or not?
at the meeting, it was helpful to understand that basically everyone was in favor of that if it's possible. And so now I think it's a little bit, I don't want to speak for Jason, but in Fontaine's court to figure out basically what can happen over that summer, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of scope, there's a lot of utilities that are going in, there's that geothermal field. Can we do those off-site improvements over that same summer is to be evaluated, I think. But I think if we can get the turning lane and the light in, since we're using this new drive, it would help people get used to that new approach, and there's interest in that for sure.
Is there a lag time on getting that kind of equipment? Like, is that readily available? How's the supply stream on that now?
On which equipment?
On getting that light, like the turn signal? Yeah.
Yeah, that it would have to be part of the early release package that goes out in the spring for the site enabling. So shouldn't be an issue having that in time. But we just got the site drawings this week from Ty and Bond, so now we're putting it through our paces and our team. And our hope is next SBC you'll see our actual logistics plan, which takes this as just the kind of intent. And now we're going to really make it look good and really put a lot of annotated notes on everything from parking and plowing. It's a great idea.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Design update?
Great. So next meeting, we're hoping to focus on exteriors. And this meeting, we wanted to focus a little bit on interiors. I'll just start off with a little disclaimer that here we are at design development. We're basically taking, again, what we had in the budget for schematic design, getting into a lot more detail, figuring out exactly how these walls are going to go together, exactly how many lockers are needed in each classroom wing, and wanting to confirm materials and kind of rethink about materials a little bit. There's a lot in here on color too, and I think that that's good to start that conversation now, but certainly there's don't need to end, we have a long time to figure out those details. But mostly want to try and get materials and kind of overall design intent talked about. So these were some slides that we actually presented in schematic design, talking about a timeless kind of warm color scheme that was influencing both the exterior of the building as well as the interior. These were some examples. Again, this slide, I'm going ahead into our meeting next month, but we want to keep the exterior materials in mind as we move into the interior, thinking very much about that process of entering the building. And so again, this is kind of where we had landed at the end of schematic design, and we felt like a good jumping off point for the interior of the building. Again, images from schematic design. Come on, you can keep going. So this is not the color palette, but a colorful slide to show you the materials of the building. And so just to talk a little bit, this is on flooring in particular. So we have, we'll start with the A wing, which is far left of the screen, far south of the site. In the 6th grade science classrooms, we have a rubber floor. And then in most of the classroom environments, we have the linoleum, shown in kind of that pink color there. In the central spine, and you see comes all the way down into the cafeteria, is a terrazzo. And we do have some samples of all of these materials over there on the back cabinet if folks want to kind of look and feel and see what these feel like in person. I will note that by the major entries we have a walk-off grill and then a walk-off mat. That's that dark charcoal color, and then the red right next to it. Green is carpet tile. And we try to balance that. It's softer, it really helps with acoustics. It's great for admin and offices. The linoleum is certainly easier to care for and keep up. So trying to balance those two priorities. We've used a lot of carpet tile in particular because you can pick up one individual tile and replace it fairly easily. It's a lot better than having the broad loom. So that basically covers admin, that classroom wing, the media center. Getting further into the C wing, that pink area with the crosshatch is polished concrete. We have that for both the STEM rooms and the 2 art classrooms. A little bit more industrial feeling, again, easy to upkeep. In the mechanical storage, shipping, receiving side of the building, we have sealed concrete. Again, easy to maintain, relatively inexpensive. In the kitchen and the servery, we're recommending an epoxy resin. That's required by health code. You can also do a Cori tile. This is another thing that you will see in that environment. But we found the epoxy resin has a little bit easier maintenance, and you don't have to deal with the grout in between the Cori tiles. In the auditorium itself, we have a mixture of carpet where the circulation paths are, and then just a sealed concrete under the chairs, and that's pretty common in an auditorium environment. Getting back into the music classrooms, again, more linoleum in those spaces. In the health classrooms as well, we have a rubber floor in OTPT, and then a wood floor in the gym, which will be a floating wood floor, typical of middle school and high school gym environments. Any questions on flooring materials in general?
I only have one, and it's for Mr. Jorgantis. Are we good with this?
Any thought to a rubberized surface in the gym versus the wood floor?
No, that's not the question I want.
Keep priming me. I'll go through.
We've done that where folks are really trying to cut costs. We've done that for a few charter schools. But in general, we found that most folks prefer the wood
They
floor.
certainly look nicer. Just the downtime with refinishing is something that's always a challenge for us.
Yep.
And the floors that we have that are rubberized can be used pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Wipe them clean and keep going.
Yeah. We have no strong preference. I think it would be a discussion with the athletics department and the school district as a whole. But I found that people in the athletics department have a very, very strong preference for the wood floor, but maybe.
Also, right now, Williams has a rubber
coming around.
floor,
Yeah, Williams
right?
has one, high school has one, right?
No.
High school would?
Yeah.
I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Okay. The Williams floor. Okay, right?
I would vote wood if it was my choice.
Good example might be the adult center. We have that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And they're using it for pickle and everything
It's
else.
used all the time, just as much as the school ones. So.
The basketball court is rubber?
Yeah.
The little side.
Mhm. I mean, I know everybody likes the aesthetics of wood. Is the performance any different? I don't know. Like,
Right.
yeah.
And how much of it is perception? And
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
yeah. I mean, I'm worried about maintenance and how easy it is on your crew. So like that's why like with the linoleum, is linoleum going to be easy to take care of for you guys
I think it would be easier, every year.
than the polished concrete or whatever else,
Polished concrete's fine. just with the gym, if we want to use it a lot, you know, every year you have to bank on having it down for a couple weeks for us to refinish the floor.
And can you refinish a floating floor?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
But that's
How
in the
many
summer.
times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot, it'll
Right.
last a long time.
Yeah, you're not really sanding it down, you're kind of just scuffing it and then, and then
Yep.
putting another layer of poly on it.
Okay.
It is interesting, because that's the reason why we're not, I mean, there's many reasons why we're not doing VCT, but that's one of the reasons we're not recommending VCT in the classrooms and doing the linoleum instead, because of the VCT, you wax it.
Yep.
And so that takes an annual application of that wax, and that's the wear surface. Whereas the linoleum is just a sweep and mop, and that's it.
Lynn?
Along those same lines, is the cleaning method the same for like polished concrete? Like, are we gonna need multiple different
That's,
types of?
I don't think so. The terrazzo, again, is just a sweep and mop.
Okay.
I'll have to look into that in terms of after a certain number of years, right? Maybe there's a more involved process, but with all of them, it's pretty straightforward. It's not that waxing.
Maybe different pads, the same
Yeah.
machine, just different pads.
Okay.
Yeah, we have Terrazza at the school, that's original to Williams, so
Yeah.
it's held up really
Yeah,
nice.
Terrazza will last
Yeah.
forever.
in the cafeteria, right?
Cafeteria and then the hall
Yeah.
entryway there.
I'm good with, I guess my question was more about, I just don't want the custodians to have to switch different chemicals, different
Right.
broom heads, whatever.
Well, we have had an issue where they came and they waxed the linoleum because they thought that it was VCT just like all their other schools.
Okay.
So sometimes that's, we'll certainly have trainings and we'll have manuals and all of that, but that
Yep.
has been overlooked in the past.
And I guess, like, the carpeted areas mirror the carpeted areas we have at the high school now. Does that create any issue for you?
We were talking about this a little bit, that we probably could pull back on the amount of carpeting that we're.
Well, we
that we're showing there,
did,
I'd say.
there are spots in there that show carpet that we already did pull back on.
Yeah.
It's like the ones on the sides of the media center.
Yeah, the digital
The digital lab.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we thought the
Big
digital lab, the
conference room.
special ed
The conference room and even the records room.
Yeah. There's
So,
a,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Got
those
it.
don't need it.
I mean, carpet squares are easy to replace if they
Yeah.
get damaged, but yeah.
Yeah, if
I
they're-
just don't know about my question originally was more along with your lines of, do I have to go from cleaning carpet to cleaning terrazzo to cleaning ceramic to cleaning polished concrete? What's the different cleaning methods, and does that increase labor percentage? I don't know.
Any way to streamline that would be appreciated.
Good.
Sorry, why did you not want the carpet?
No, we just didn't see the need for it in those spots. If we were trying to limit the amount of carpeting
Okay.
in spaces if we could, and we didn't see a need for it in those two side rooms. The media center, we felt, Nikki and I felt like that should be carpeted in the library. But those other rooms, we didn't feel the need for.
Sure.
And I'm not against carpet, I was just more
Yeah.
what works best for
Yeah.
uh,
If we're gonna do
DPW
it-
and maintenance.
Yeah, if we're gonna do carpet tiles would be the preference.
Mhm. And that's what would be in the auditorium too.
Correct.
Any questions from anybody on the phone? All right, moving on to the second floor.
Oh, yeah, right. Second floor, very similar approach. In the science labs, we went for a rubber floor, and then the rest of the classrooms, linoleum. And we have linoleum for the circulation spaces up here as well.
So the rubber floor, is that typical? Is that code?
It's a bit more resistance to chemicals,
Okay.
and so that's why we put it in the science labs.
Okay. I figured, what do we here we have got it's like a concrete with
Here in the high school?
speckles. Yeah, right?
Some of them, yeah,
Yeah.
where the acid drain is.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Any questions about the second floor from anybody?
For what it's worth, we were asking JWA to help us understand the difference between the rubber-coated stairs and terrazzo stairs. So that's something that
Mhm.
we think that terrazzo would be more durable and easier to maintain, probably. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know what the
Like a Catholic school from the 50s.
I think for the design development cost estimate process, we're leaning towards a rubber stair for the circulation stairs in the classroom wings, and then try and do something a bit more resilient like the terrazzo for the common stairs.
Awesome. Moving on.
So this is a perspective view. We've got a little cut of the plan on the left there. This is from the main entry of the school, the main visitor entry on the south side. Again, colors are still to be determined, but we're trying to develop a palette here and introduce the concept of materials. So we have the epoxy terrazzo on the floor there. We have a porcelain ceramic tile wainscot up to 54 inches, so that's really protecting the wear surface along that wall. Above that is painted gypsum board. We're still evaluating ceilings a little bit, so I don't think I would focus too much on that, but you can see over here we have been able to carve an opening up to the second floor with a skylight above. That will really, I think, enliven this entry and help tie the two floors together. We're imagining some type of custom wall graphic can go there. Certainly not this one in particular, but a custom wall graphic either to be developed by the district or certainly we've also done them in-house in the past, but can be a nod to the local environment, can be a nod to local history, can be a nod to a local artist. There's a lot of kind of fun things you can do with that type of an approach.
What's the, I'm going to just go back to maintenance again. What's the maintenance on the ceramic tile wainscoting?
Nothing, really.
Okay.
You can wipe it down, which is great.
Okay.
There will be more, from kind of the classic schools of the 50s where everything was concrete block. There will be more painting required with a newer school. I think that's an unfortunate result of the economy and how things are built these days, but that's how it goes. So that's why
Painting not on the tile, you're not.
No, on the sheetrock.
No, the sheetrock, yeah.
And that's why we're
okay.
introducing that wainscot there. I think, schools from like the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe that wouldn't be there, and so it's an evolution. So this is a perspective view over on the right of the other main entry of the parent drop-off entry on the east side of the building. Again, you can see kind of on the upper right an opening to above, so lots of kind of shared daylight between the spaces. We really try and make sure that the second floor does not feel too isolated from the first floor. Yes, here it says rubber stairs. As Marty mentioned, that's something that we're evaluating and likely going to change. Similar porcelain ceramic tile to 54 inches. Here you can see a little bit of that walk-off carpet tile in front. This is after you've already gone through a grill system in the vestibule. So trying to get as much dirt off the shoes as possible before you get into the interior space. I'll call attention to the wood element on the left of the common area there. And this is an idea of a display area to really highlight student work. The teachers were super enthusiastic about this type of approach. Our idea is to have 3 or 4 or 5 of these spread throughout the school, focused on the circulation spine. So again, that we can kind of show as much student work as possible to the general public and also have students see each other's work at the different grade levels. It's an opportunity to provide a little bit of a pop of color while everything else is fairly muted, and also a little bit of warmth with the wood. And we're here, it's a little bit different because it's in an open, larger entry area. But once you're in the circulation spine, we're envisioning that having a bit of a ceiling element as well, to really kind of call attention to those, those moments, which is a nice result of what kind of came out.
Just
of
an
those.
open design element, no glass, right?
No glass.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So again, as I mentioned, colors are still to be determined and still working on them, but a general approach is that we would have some hues that are different per classroom wing. So to give each classroom wing a bit of a unique identity. In the classrooms, which is kind of on the left side of each of these, the colors would be a little bit more muted, and certainly, you know, what's Katie and Dory and I were just talking about this earlier. What's difficult with this is that the accent colors here look like they'd be about 50% of the room would be that yellow and that orange, whereas really it would be a pretty small percentage of the room. The vast majority would be that extra white on the top, and then you can see the linoleum flooring is shown below that. Again, classroom wings and then bathroom ideas, and we do have a sample of a bathroom flooring material back there on the back table as well. And then Marty, turn down the cafeteria. The cafeteria's changed a little bit since schematic design. Looking at the roof framing with our structural engineer, it made a lot more sense to do this radial pattern, which related to the radius of the auditorium. We really think it's going to help enliven that space and offer some, unique opportunities. In terms of materials, again, we have the epoxy terrazzo on the floor. Thinking about a fair amount of ceramic tile on the wall. So on the right of this perspective image is the kitchen and the servery. And so on the left, our thought was to have some type of tile mural along that wall. With Tectum acoustic wall panels above it to help cut down on some of the noise in the cafeteria. On the far side, you're seeing the entry into the auditorium on the far left there, as well as a smaller area for some students to eat lunch that's just a little bit removed from the large cafeteria space. That was a request that we got from the students and staff as we've met with them. And that has a nice wood batten pattern on it, again bringing some warmth into the space.
Go ahead, Marty, you had a question.
Nope, go ahead. No?
It said student and staff. The student and staff, were they aligned on why they wanted a separate area? Like, I'm guessing was for staff for like maybe food allergy reasons, and the kids they want to just be set aside kind of area?
Yeah, some kids like to space out. We have a lot of little opportunities, there's a little room off of our cafeteria that some kids like to just go in there because it's quieter. I mean, not necessarily, might not be quieter. I don't know what those wooden things could offer for that, but people, it was another option to give flexible seating and feel more like different options.
Okay.
Yeah, we still wanted to keep it fairly open. That's why we have the large cuts in the wall there, so that it can still be easily observed, and you don't have to have a separate staff in that room in particular. But certainly the acoustics will be much different in that space than in the larger cafeteria.
Marty?
Are those four areas interconnected? Or are they divided?
It's all one space with just some punched openings into it.
I was thinking about visibility and the full divider between those, in those nooks, and kids not being visible,
right,
to the...
Yeah, I guess what we asked was this is what we talked about the other day, was the ones that are coming down like that, are those necessary structural wise to hide a beam or something, or could it be that area was like that off to the side, but you didn't have to have three things coming down? Does that make sense?
Or even narrow them up a little bit, would that help? I think we might need them, but we could probably
structural reasons?
Get them skinnier than what you're seeing now.
But you don't need you wouldn't need the quarter wall down in the bottom, right? You could open that up too?
Sure, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's that question of how much should that feel like a different space or not, I guess.
I think the columns give it the different space, and then you get rid of that, you can still see totally in there. I don't know.
Yeah. They all have to be washed at all times.
So it's more like
especially the lunchroom.
4 doorways instead of 2 doorways and 2 windows.
Right.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
That area has great potential. I love the flexible seating and the options for kids. I think we probably would benefit from more conversation on that.
Yeah.
For sure.
And just great meeting space or whatever else,
Right.
like after school, before school.
Yeah.
Great. The auditorium, again, this is a pretty quick rendering. The lighting is not in there yet, so just keep that in mind. But again, a lot of warmth from wood acoustic panels. Those can come perforated, which really helps with the kind of modulating the acoustics within the auditorium environment. We did ask about a wood stage that is a natural wood as opposed to a painted black stage floor. And there was some preference for a natural wood stage, a bit more multi-purpose. And then you can see the carpet in the circulation areas.
The notch is for accessible seating.
Correct.
Yeah, on both sides, okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, it's a really, I think it's a really fantastic auditorium design that we've been working with some new theater designers. So you come in at that level between the two seating areas,
Right.
and everything that way towards the stage is accessible. And then in the back, you're able to really step up the seating with that staircase. So you have much better views from the back of the auditorium than you used to. And then that also helps get us up to basically the second floor height where we can have our, the tech control room. Thank you, Kaylee, and projector and all of that.
So
up at
it
the top
kind of
of
looks
that.
like Belchertown a little bit, or Minnetonka too. So at the top of the second level, would there be exits from the top? A stairwell going down, or no?
No, just
You would
this-
have to exit by the, okay.
Yeah.
For safety, I was just wondering. Okay, thanks.
Have you thought about the backs of the seats that are in there as the material?
That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
Yeah, and right now we're showing wood. I think that was mostly to lighten up the image because otherwise, when it was showing a dark plastic, it was just looking black.
Okay.
I
was
but
thinking
that's certainly
maintenance-wise as far as not
something
being
to,
wood.
yeah.
Well, we had the same
To consider.
discussion about the bleachers in the gym, that they shouldn't be wood because of kids sitting there and carving,
Mhm.
whatever they want to carve in there, and that type of stuff.
Great, and then this is the gym. Again, a space that has changed a little bit from schematic design. Working with our structural engineers, we're envisioning a truss running north-south, and then able to pick up some glulam beams, bring some daylight into the gym, and really open the space up. And we're pretty excited with how this is turning out. For the sides, it's looking like just that pink color, but it's actually just because of the rendering. It's a polished concrete block, which is a much larger detail of that is shown on the left side of your screen there. And modulating color of wall pads. Gyms are difficult because you really only have 7 colors to choose from. There's not a whole lot of nuance there. And so this is an initial start with working off of two shades of blue to provide a little bit of interest. And again, on the
Is
left,
black and
showing the
white?
wood floor for now.
Black and white potential color.
We could, certainly. I mean, it's an interesting question. It's also,
It's Long Meadow.
we don't have a,
Maybe black and gray. White doesn't really hold up well.
Yeah,
over
the gray.
time.
Yeah, no, gray's fine.
it is a worthwhile question, especially at the middle school
I mean, I definitely
environment.
thought about that the other day when it was yellow, and I was like, ooh, yellow's rough, and then I did think, what about black
Black
because
and
it's
gray.
Long Meadow, but
I mean, the
maybe
black rather doesn't
and
go with the
gray.
rest of the design. I get. What you're
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe seeing it with black and gray might
Yeah.
just be cool.
I think at the athletic side of the building in particular, the school, that's where school colors come into play, and that's critical at the high school level. And
Right.
we weren't sure how critical it was at the middle school level, so that was something we wanted to ask you about.
Be nice to see it, just to see what it looks laid out.
Yeah, okay, great.
Any other questions on the gym?
And interiors in general?
Interiors in general?
I think it looks really good.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
Thank you.
Shaping up
Thank you.
nice. Yeah.
Shaping up nice.
Thank you.
Lee.
Okay, now getting out of design and more towards, important details. So we are recommending bringing a photovoltaic designer on board. We had talked about the potential of PV going up after the project was completed, but having gone through this on other projects and seeing how difficult some of that coordination is, not only within the building and making sure that we have everything so that it can be a successful PV installation, but in particular with the utility. If we're able to wrap the PV inclusion into the project, I think the town would, save themselves hours and hours and potentially years of trouble. So it would be an add to the budget. I think, it's something that we're gonna have to consider with the design development cost estimate, as well as the project budget as a whole, and looking at contingencies and all of that. But we do think it's a good idea to bring a PV designer on now to start designing the system, and working with the team on optimizing the size of the system, getting specifications together, figuring out how it's going to integrate with the roof, a ballasted system versus an anchored system, etc. And so this proposal came from LN Engineering, who's the same engineers as our mechanical, plumbing, and fire protection. We've also got proposals from other firms out of Boston, which came in much higher. The benefit is that they'd be able to coordinate with the team a lot easier. Their proposal came in at $68,000. We would carry that as a reimbursable expense, and that's well within the budget that we carried for reimbursable expenses.
Christian, bringing on the designer now obviously allows us, if the budget allows, to add solar now, but what they're going to produce, if we don't do solar now, could still be used and given to the town at the end of the project.
Certainly.
Right?
Yes, exactly. And we wouldn't have to go through all 4 phases if we decide that it's not worth pursuing now, right? Just complete phase 1 and then put it on pause. Again, having the electric engineer, in this case our electrical engineer is ART Engineering out of Worcester, having LN and ART both be able to talk to the electric utility, would be extremely helpful.
Any questions for Christian on this?
Is there anything that?
This is Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Right, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm not opposed to spending this money so we can figure out how much money we may need to spend down the road, or what our payoff would be long-term, et cetera, but relating that, I don't know if Ian's there, but what would our funding possibility be on this, given that we've already had a vote and we have a budget that did include this? How would that even be possible at this point to add this on? Not the study, but to add on PV.
Yeah, Josh, we're not talking about going over the approved budget. We're talking about whether we should be using anything within the contingencies or anything else available from reductions across the project to pay for this. I don't think anybody's talking about going back and asking for more money.
No, that's correct. This will be part of the existing budget that we have, and when we first were putting our estimates together, we always had solar as an ad alternate, meaning that if things came in under budget, then we could pick up solar for the project now.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize we had that kind of room.
Yeah.
That's helpful, thank you.
And it would remain essentially an option at the end of the project. So you do the design work up front to put you in a position to opt for the photovoltaic capacity.
Correct, yeah, it's gonna give the town already an advantage that's already designed, and then, the building itself is gonna be built to that design, so it's an easier thing, so you're not trying to retrofit the PV onto the roof that is already built.
So I guess my question, our energy manager would be behind this, probably?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And is there any opportunities for grants outside of this?
That's what I was going to ask, is
Okay.
if doing this now helps with that IRA tax consultant, and if there's, I don't know if any of those even exist anymore.
Yeah, we can certainly ask. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's definitely worth asking if that is, something that can be added in on that.
Or is there any kind of Eversource money to help out with this?
Yeah, I'm
now?
sure there's always grants for anything that's energy efficient, so we'll just have to find the right one that we can make sure is applied to this.
And I see that phase 1, it calls out rooftop, but are they strictly only looking at rooftop, or will they potentially, if they see an opportunity, make a recommendation about a parking lot canopy?
We've had that question in the past, Lynn. We've found that once you get into the cost of building a new structure specifically for the PV, that's when it really
Yeah,
goes up significantly. So if there's a desire for those extra kilowatts, you know, we can look at that. But for now, I think
Sure.
we're focused purely on rooftop.
Thanks.
And I guess just hypothetically taking into account that, and if we could do more than the building needs, is that like sell back to the grid or as offsets to the rest of the town?
Yeah, there's options.
Preliminary feedback from what we had showed in schematic design as potential PV on the roof, I think we were in the ballpark of 60 to 70% of the schools.
No, but I'm talking if we were to go covered parking as
So
well.
if we went covered parking, I think there would be room that it would probably still just go to the schools' use.
Okay. All right.
But
Cool. Any other questions? Do we have to vote on this, Marty?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Is there a motion?
Move to approve pursuing a design proposal as presented for the installation of the rooftop photovoltaic array.
Second?
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. I'm going to go on the phone first. Josh?
Yes.
Carissa?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Armin, yes. David, you still there? No?
He's not here. He left a note that he needed to leave for another meeting.
Thank you. All right. Motion passes. Moving on to storage shed.
I mean, did you vote?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't hear.
I said aye. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for being precise.
Consider it.
Yes, thank you. Not forgetting. Storage shed. What do we got?
this is another one where I don't know if we need a formal vote, but it could be helpful. This is again a bit of a expansion of scope. I don't think it's too excessive, but in all of our meetings on the turf field, it really became apparent. Before schematic design, we had just included a 20 by 40 foot pad that was going to potentially get some type of storage unit in the future to be provided by, we didn't really know, or what it would look like, but we were just going to provide the pad. It quickly became apparent that something with the project would really be helpful. Not only for maintenance of the field itself, but for general site maintenance. Snow blowers, any gas-powered equipment, it's much better to store that outside of the building. And there was a small tow-behind element that will help service the synthetic turf field, just helps redistribute the pellets. And so we would need a place for that to be stored. And so the proposal was that to provide one pad that again can be future use on the right-hand side of this drawing, but to provide both a pad and an unheated storage unit on the left side, which we're showing with that red rectangle. Could be storage of athletic equipment, ground maintenance equipment, gasoline-powered equipment. We are recommending that it be non-heated because once you get into a heated building, the costs rise dramatically. You then have to meet the energy code. It's much harder to get something pre-manufactured that you can just bring on the site. So then your labor costs go up considerably. So we do think you can certainly bring electricity. We can even bring plumbing with a spigot that can be made sure that it's okay in the winter, but we would recommend that we don't heat the space. So recommending a 20 by 40 foot storage with a rough budget of approximately $100,000. Again, that would get cleaned up a lot in this design development cost estimate process. But we're recommending that we include it in the project.
Question, are the concrete pads already in the plan without this $100,000?
Correct.
Okay, so do we really need to make a decision now about the shed? I mean, if the pad's there, like, I don't know, just me personally, I'd hate putting another $100,000 towards something that might be needed for something more important later if we don't have to make a decision on that now. That's just me. And I get that we need a place to store stuff, yes.
As long as it's
I mean,
decision-
DPW, I mean, I'm guessing this is pretty important too.
Right.
But when we say athletic equipment, are we talking town-owned athletic equipment? Who's got access to this thing?
Yeah, that was my question.
That was a little bit why we had the two separate pads, is because
Yeah.
we knew that that was
And I
an
think it
issue
will-
that was
I
brewing.
mean, if
so that
the athletic,
this would be specifically for school.
okay.
Right, because didn't we say even if other people use it, because even at school, they would take it away or something after? Wasn't there something we talked about with that?
You know, well, that's if you do fundraising. So fundraising, they usually, the MSBA will deduct the amount that you fundraise for during the project, and they'll deduct that amount that they give back to. But once the project's closed out, you can fundraise all you want.
Do you want to carry it as a second alternate?
Sir, happy to do that. I
I
think
mean,
mostly we just wanted formal direction that it was something that the building committee was interested in, so that our design team should.
I think I'm
should-
interested. I gave you my opinion. I'm one of 6 on the phone tonight to give their opinion, so I'm love to hear from other people.
I agree that we need more storage options for materials. I'm also a little bit surprised at $100,000 price tag for that, to be honest. So I would be interested in seeing some other options or getting a little further down the road and seeing what we need and what's going to suit the needs of all of the different groups that use the field before we make a final decision on something.
So if the sports teams got together and said they wanted to pay for this, that would get taken off by the MSBA, even though it's not included in the project?
Yeah, there's certain grants that the MSBA will allow you to go after,
Okay.
but doing a fundraiser or somebody donating money,
Hmm.
that's when they come and the money that you fundraise for during the project, they'll take that off what they're going to actually reimburse you.
Net zero.
Yeah.
Damned if you
It
do,
doesn't-
damned if you don't.
It doesn't cost you anything.
It just-
If it were a
It
fundraise,
takes it away from you because you're getting
No,
it
right.
from fundraising. Wouldn't you rather get it from the MSBA? In that regard.
right.
Let them put a shed up on the other side when we're done with the project.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So that happens a lot. You have donors that want to give money, and you're always telling them, well, you have to wait until the project's done, so that way, you know, you're not losing out on money and you're still getting that donation.
When you're saying project's done, the final closeout?
Yeah.
It would be after,
Yeah.
and that's a couple of years after.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah,
Completion.
okay.
I think Josh was.
I'm
Josh?
just a little surprised I'm surprised this wasn't in the project before. And I'm really a little unclear what the plan was here, if we needed this space. What were we thinking would be a funding source?
If I remember correctly, we did talk a little bit about this, Josh, and part of it was that we would build the pads, and then after the project is over, we would try to get the sports teams to fundraise and or purchase the shed on their own behalf, since they would need storage space.
I think for me, I recall that conversation, and it was thought that maybe if you did it afterwards, that you might have some more affordable options. But having talked about this recently with DPW and our athletic department and really, and even school PE staff, I think storage is going to be important outdoors. I think whether we build it now or build it afterwards, there'll be conversations about, the space and how much is allocated to DPW and how much is allocated to school storage and park and rec storage, like that conversation will, we all share pretty well, I think. So I do think it's important to the project. I certainly heard that, the feedback from DPW and concern about the snow removal equipment and the equipment to groom the turf field. I think that sounded like it was very important.
The only thing I would push back on that, I mean, I'd have to check my notes, but I also thought we talked about that in this whole receiving/storage area, the 360 plus the 560, making sure we had ramps to accommodate the snow removal equipment and get that out of the way in the available storage area and that gray area.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what we talked about, but then I think later on that it was known that anything that's gas-powered
Can't be
wouldn't be
stored
stored
inside.
wouldn't be stored in any of the schools.
But I thought we still had the overhang with the ramps that they could be stored outside, but not, okay.
I think there's a benefit to carry it as an ad alternate, the second ad alternate. Then you don't know if it's 100K or if it's 50K.
Okay.
And you can make that choice later. The other thing is that because it's outside the building, I don't think MSBA is going to make that an eligible space anyway, because it's part of the site work.
Right.
Okay. Any other input?
Just that storage is gonna be necessary from the get-go, for the field.
So I'm hearing kind of like guidance and maybe add this to the the second ad alternate
Second
on the
ad,
list for
yeah.
now.
PVs would be your first.
PV
alternate,
first,
because
yeah.
you have to take them in order.
Do you have to take them in order?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
In order of what we voted, or?
No,
No.
in order of how you put it out to bid as number one ad alternate, number two, so you can't go out to bid and then take two over ahead
see.
of one.
Okay.
Wait, so at this point right now, PV for us is like number one, so we would have to actually do the PV?
No,
to
you
get
have
them?
to take them before you took number two, if you had a number two or number three or number four.
Yeah, that's how mass procurement works. So if you had 5 listed on there,
Mhm.
you can't take number 4 without taking number 1, 2s, and 3.
Right.
So that way, when we actually put this out, and just because we have PV as an ad alternate right now,
You don't
doesn't
have to.
mean that's number 1.
Oh,
We'll be
okay.
able to list, once we know what all the ad alternates,
Okay.
it's just before we go out to bid,
We list
we'll put them in order and say,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
these are
cool,
order
cool.
of
Yeah, yeah,
importance.
That's better.
of course.
Yeah, no, it's not when we
Okay.
come up
I'm
with
like,
it.
we have to buy the $10 million PV system to get the $100,000
I'm
shed?
sorry, I was
Okay,
probably
yeah.
confusing you.
No, that's fine,
the way
okay.
I expressed that.
All right, so yes, we'll add that to the ad alternate list unless somebody has a hesitance.
Do you see any issue with that as an ad alternate? I can't think of one that would create an issue.
No.
Sounds good.
Would it
I-
be,
Go ahead.
no, I was wondering if, I think the MSBA would need a vote on this right now, on making this an adult, or can that wait? We don't,
Oh, yeah, no,
we
no,
don't need to
no,
vote on
yeah,
this.
we can just,
Yeah.
we can have it in there, and then, once it comes out, we can list these right now as potential ad alternates, and then before we go out to bid, we can say, okay, do we want to keep all these ad alternates, or are we going to, X some of them off? The only difference is Christian's gonna have to go out and do his work to, his consultants and either find a shed, and if things get, if there's other ad alternates that are more complicated and he has to do a lot of design work on, we want to know that ahead of time, so that way he's not doing all this work, and then at the end, you're like, no, we're not gonna do it.
What we're trying to do is take the budget and from that budget, take out these things that we know we want to budget for. And at the same time we're doing that, put that to the estimators for the 60%, CDs and 90% CDs and the design development estimates, just so it's allocated.
So I'm not opposed to it being an ad alternate. I do, though, strongly feel like it should be concluded in the base. I am thinking about, we know we have to maintain and take care of the property, and we know we need equipment to do that, and we need somewhere to store it. To me, that rises above solar. I know we don't have to
Agreed.
decide that right
Yeah,
now,
no, I
but
totally
I'm just
agree with
saying, solar to me truly is an ad alternate, whereas a storage shed for a snow blower and equipment to maintain the field seems to me like a critical component of maintaining your property. So I feel pretty strongly, but I get that.
So Christian,
it's
can we
an
just
ad
have
alternate.
this as part of the next estimate, as a storage shed, and then determine there, depending on what the cost comes in at, and where we're looking at budget? So in our next round of estimates that we'll do, we can include it in there. We can see what the cost is, and we can see where the overall number comes in and where that sits with our budget. If we're over budget, then we go back and we look at VE items where we value engineer and kind of maybe reduce some stuff. And if we're under budget, then fantastic.
If you don't run utilities out there, would that make a big difference? And I know we weren't talking about heating it, but if you don't run lighting and
I don't think,
water,
I mean, electrical is not gonna be, I don't think that
doesn't change.
that's pretty minimal. You're running a conduit with some wire out there,
Yeah.
and they just need, because they'll have to do,
Lighting would
like,
be-
charging some stuff and like drills and all that kind
I
of
was just
stuff.
thinking, I mean,
Yeah.
are there other sources of, can you light it with battery? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I think running a conduit out there to put some electrical
Okay.
is not,
Tesla Powerwall.
Yeah.
The fact that the pad's out there means that you can go to outsourcing this as a purchase item.
Right.
Some of these people that make nice-looking sheds that you want to put out there, that does the same thing. If it comes in $100,000 and they can do it for 50,
Right, right.
give you options later.
And Lynn, if you want to make a motion, then I'd entertain it. I mean, I'm not saying not to.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It sounds like there's a possibility to get firmer pricing. Am I understanding that right? Does
Yeah.
that add a lot of headache to you or to do that?
no, not this particular item. I think it would be easy enough to add this into the estimate and see where it comes.
Do you need a motion for that?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
I think we can, once we get it into once it's at the estimate, we can decide then if we want to keep it in or take it out.
I'm good with that, but
Okay.
I don't know how everyone else feels.
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on design?
All set?
The materials are over there, in case anybody wants to see the materials. Thank you for putting those out. All right, moving on, we now have an executive session for security update. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to enter into executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A4, to conduct discussion of the deployment of strategy regarding security personnel and/or devices, and not to return to open session.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I can make that second. I'm still here.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call for roll call vote. Lynn?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Armin, yes. Nicole?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Carissa?
Yes.
And we are now in executive session. Thank you for joining us this evening, and join us for our next regularly scheduled meeting.